Good morning from muggy San Antonio, typical dog days of summer. Today we're looking at DarkHorse Insurance. This is a primer in the importance of insurance for veterans. Before we get started, this is a presentation from the San Antonio Coalition of Veterans and Families. Our mission, the immediate assistance for homeless veterans. Please feel free to hit the like button, subscribe to our channel. Disclosure, we don't endorse any specific products or vendors. Our presentations are intended to be educational, and we recommend that individuals do their due diligence in researching and selecting services. Having said that, we are very fortunate today. Our guest speaker is Christa Angeles, from an insurance broker from DarkHorse Insurance Solutions, right here in San Antonio. This is off the website. You can take a look. This is off their national website. I did look at the back of Christa's business card and realized how little I knew about insurance. So I had known things about health insurance, and I'm Medicare age, and I know about Medicare supplements and advantage plans, and certainly I've heard a lot about life insurance and final expense, big issue, specialized health insurance, world travel health insurance. I have a good friend who went on a cruise, got very ill, found out the limits of TRICARE for life and VA when something happens in another country, certainly dental, special events, liability, homeowners, business owners, renters, errors and omissions, earthquakes. We don't think about that so much in Texas, and yet we've had earthquakes. I used to live in California. We definitely had earthquakes, things like that. And some insurance, I used to cover South Texas, and it was a concern. Cyber liability, worker comp, brush area, home policies, almost overwhelming number of things. To contact Christa, we have her contact information. So probably the first thing to do is let's get started. Christa, good morning.
Hi, Bob. Good morning. Good to be here.
Super. How nice to see you again.
Yes.
Christa, you're a veteran.
Yes, I am. So I was in the military for 9 years. So I enlisted in 2008, and then deployed to Afghanistan in 2014. And then 3 years later, I had to hang up the uniform and be a civilian again. But my background is the U.S. Army.
Okay. I can empathize with that. Me too. Christa, how did you come to be in the insurance business? Because that's not the first thing I would think of as for a veteran getting out of the service.
Right. So let me share you a little bit about myself. So I have always been passionate about fitness. And when I was in at the university, my goal was to be a clinical psychologist. So while I was pursuing my undergraduate degree, I was also in the ROTC program, right? And then when I commissioned as a reservist, I guess, okay, I'm just gonna share it with you. I guess my GPA wasn't as competitive, to get into a graduate school. But, thank God, he had other plans for me. So I have been offered, gosh, multiple active duty assignments, as a reservist. So that was great. So after graduating, basically, I worked at a two-star command over in Los Alamitos in California. And then from there, I I got assigned to become a platoon leader, executive officer. And then when I deployed and came back, I told myself I would like to explore the civilian side, and then that's how it started. But going back to my passion for fitness, before I got into the insurance industry, I have been training women on how to prepare for their wedding, weight loss, things like that, gain muscle mass, things like that. So I have always been into fitness. And so while I was looking for a private gym where I can train my clients, that's where I came across my insurance mentor. So my insurance mentor, he's been in the industry for so many years, one of the top producers in California. And when I was training at his gym, he said, I see a potential in you. Do you want to be in the
Heavens.
insurance field? And I said, I don't know how to sell. And so he said, you're not selling anything, but you are educating. So I like that from that perspective. We're coming from an education standpoint, right? So that's how I got into the insurance space. And so from there, I just ran with it. I go, oh my gosh, I did not know that this is possible. And because I've been passionate about insurance, I started, researching, doing my own homework, things like that. And so until I found my niche or my specialty. So with that said, here we are. We're talking about the birth of Dark Horse.
Okay. So I have a confession to make. So when I got out of the service for the first time, which wasn't in this century, uh, I knew nothing about insurance. I knew I had to have car insurance, but unfortunately, my parents weren't very insurance savvy, and so I wasn't. So when someone comes to you, how do you get started? How do you assess what they need?
Absolutely. Great question. I have always been that person who loves to connect with people. I like it when I hear their stories. So I tend to ask a lot of questions, right? But not in a very intrusive way. But I always tell them that the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to know how I can help you. So I think of myself as, how when you talk to a doctor, they ask you so many questions. It's because they're trying to form that picture in their head and see how they can solve your problem, right? So in essence, it's more like consultative, right? So I build that rapport. I make sure that they're comfortable. So let's say, Bob, you come to me, right? You tell me, hey, Krista, I found your business card, or you referred by Doctor So and so. And so, I asked them, I would ask you, hey, Bob, how can I help you? Tell me about your situation. And then before anything else, I tell them that what I do is at no cost to you, right? I don't charge anything. And I tell them that I'm compensated by the insurance carriers that I represent. And so for the state of Texas, especially on the health and Medicare side, I'm contracted with majority of the insurance carriers because my job is to find a good fit for Bob, so there's no one size fit all, right? Unlike in the military, remember when we were at basic training or when you were active duty, it's kind of like, okay, Bob, this is going to be your insurance, boom, that's it, no questions asked, right? So it's quite the opposite, once you get out of the military. It's not the case. Basically, you have to do your research, you have to do a lot of reading on it, but it would be good to work with someone like myself whose full-time job is actually doing this, right? So of course you want to go with someone who's knowledgeable and ethical.
What can a person do to kind of do a little homework or scrub up before they meet with you?
Right. So gosh, so I would speak from the Medicare and the health insurance side, right? So at least what you want to know is, gosh, you want to know at least what do you have at the moment, right? What you have at the moment, is that something that you would like to have outside the military? Do you travel a lot? Do you see a lot of doctors? What prescriptions are you taking, right? Reason why I ask these questions is when you go outside the VA or outside maybe TRICARE for Life, doctors and hospitals, they have their own contracts, right? So what that means is they have a set list of insurance carriers that they accept. Because the last thing that you want to happen to yourself is you go to their facility, and next thing you know, they tell you, oh, we don't accept that, right? So you want to prepare by at least knowing what you currently have and knowing what you like about it, don't like about it. Is that something that you want to that you want to use later on or not? So, but you know what? When you talk to me, I will guide that conversation, because I know there's just like too many nuances that, an average person would need to consider, right?
So, okay, so here we are in South Texas. I mentioned I used to live in California, some unique things there because of earthquakes and other conditions and fires. Are are there some unique considerations for here, for living in San Antonio or the surrounding areas?
Let's see. So with my clients here, the most common, I would say, property and casualty policies that I come across are people needing, I would say, just the regular, home insurance, commercial insurance, things like that. And I would say that this is also nationwide with the rising cost of, homeowners insurance. Every year people need to shop, right? Every year it's up for renewal, and so that's the time, people are exploring other options, right? So like for me and my husband, even if I'm a broker for, for a home insurance, even us, like we shop every year, right? And so if you're considering like earthquake, that is not definitely applicable. Not,
Sure,
like not in Texas. Maybe flood insurance, in some
sure.
parts of Texas for sure, right? Because as a licensed agent, I'm licensed the whole state, right? But nothing really stands out here in San Antonio, other than I come across individuals or my current clients. They always ask for, hey, I would like to shop for a newer rate. So my renewal has increased by, this amount, and I would like to see what other options I have. So with myself, I'm just like with my health insurance line of business. I'm a broker, so I'm able to shop for different insurance carriers for my clients and see, what makes sense for them as far as budget wise.
We, we hear terrible stories about things like homeowner insurance in Florida. Is Texas experiencing anything like that?
Uh, I in Florida, I don't have a lot of clients there,
Of course.
but I would say, if I were to compare and contrast, California and Texas, because those are majority of my clients where they
Ah,
come from. Oh my goodness. The amount of people getting dropped from their insurance in the state of California is insane.
okay.
So um not so much here in Texas. I
Well,
think it's because of that, the brush fire, the wildfires.
of
It's
course.
very, very much common, especially in the LA area. So the
You
environment, the landscape affects it.
you mentioned, sort of year to year, which implies that people have like a long-term relationship with you that kind of comes up periodically for review. I,
Mhm.
I I don't know that I ever thought of insurance that way, that
Right.
the ongoing with an agent to kind of assess where you are. Is that typical of what you do?
Oh, Bob, that's a good question. Oh my goodness. I think it comes from my background, I would say. I treat my client as if they're my family member. So the thing is, not all brokers are the same, so everybody has their own personalities and things like that. So I'm an empath. Empath. So it matters to me how my client feels, how they're being treated, things like that. So I tend to go above and beyond, I would say. Some people tell me that I do things more than other people. it's just my own personality. But going back to your question, the importance of, especially for the Medicare annual review, the only reason why I do it as such is because I don't want my clients to be blindsided come, January of the new year. A lot of these plans change. And so, for example, people that are on a Medicare Advantage plan, that's for another conversation, may not be the same as the one for next year. So I always remind my clients that, hey, make sure to make an appointment with me. Open enrollment is from October 15th to December 7th. I want to make sure that your prescriptions are still covered, even your doctors, things like that. And people's health status, they change, my gosh, day by day, month by month, right? And so we
True.
want to make sure that we address those, those potential challenges, right? So to help me with that, I have my own, client relationship management system. So I send out newsletters, messages to my clients. And, some people, they would be like, I'm going to put you on my do not disturb list because you've been sending so much information, which I get it, but keep in touch with them. And I would rather they hear from me than not hear from me at all, because I want them to know that I am here for them, so I just love what I do. And um it just builds that rapport, and that it forges that stronger relationship with them.
I think you bring up an important point in that on the modern healthcare scene today, things change quickly, which is not what someone like me is used to, where we think of everything being the same and it's just a perfunctory check the block, I'm good for next year. And that's just part of the landscape.
It is. So what is it, June, right? So
Yes.
a week ago, the Medicare certification for us agents have already been deployed. So it has already come up. And so this is something that us Medicare agents need to do every year if we want to continue offering, Medicare products to our clients. So really, the regulations change. There's always going to be updates. So a person like myself, if you want to stay competitive and be knowledgeable, really you have to, go deep into these to these things, right?
Yeah, the nature of
Yes.
uh, people at all stages go to insurance agents, go to a person like you.
Mhm.
Um, so a lot of people are just starting out. We talk about someone just getting out of the service, maybe with no insurance. We
Yeah.
talk about people whose circumstances are changing, careers changing, but
Mhm.
also a lot of older people who might have dealt with other insurance or are unhappy now, or things have changed, or maybe their status has changed, they're alone. When people come to you, what do you find they're lacking by and large? What haven't they considered in their insurance plan?
What are they lacking? Okay. So going back to what I mentioned earlier, that if you're in the service, it's like everything is already laid out, right? And so I remember back when I was at basic training, or, when I was still in, it's like, here's your coverage. There's nobody that I can talk to or even ask questions, right? Because we're thinking that this is enough, that the military knows exactly what I need, what I
Yeah.
want. We're expecting them that they know what we need. And so that's enough, right? And so what many people don't know is there are gaps. Gosh, if I only gonna talk about the Medicare side of the house, there are gaps. And so when I do my Medicare one-on-ones, I talk to them about what Medicare is, but I also introduce to them that if you are, let's say, diagnosed with cancer, for example, knock on wood, or some sort of critical illness, right? The medical portion is taken care of by the health insurance aspect, by the health insurance policy. But what about if you need to travel to MD Anderson in Houston, right? Where are you going to get that money from? Are you going to tap into your savings account? Are you going to tap into, or maybe set up a GoFundMe for yourself, right? And so that is something that I started talking about to my audience when I do my Medicare seminars. And not only that, there's critical illness. What if you get diagnosed with dementia, Alzheimer's, things like that, right? So the medical portion is taken care of. But what about the other costs? So let's say you have an experimental drug that your doctor would like for you to take. Who's going to pay for that experimental drug? Because that insurance is not going to cover that, so it would have to come out of pocket, right? So that's the angle that I start, educating people about. So shocks. So if it's just sad because hardly anybody talks about these things. And with our economy right now, I know that a lot of people don't want to pay for any more policies, but if you're someone who's able to or is proactive, I would say that this is something that you may want to consider, you know,
Sure.
um, later on, right?
Yeah.
So because it's more expensive when you see the bills rather than having that policy already in place. Because once a person gets diagnosed, right? Or let's say somebody, your doctor has officially told you that Mr. So and so, you got diagnosed with this one, then that insurance carrier where you get your cancer policy is from, then they cut you a check right away. And then it's up to you how you want to use it. You want to use it for that experimental drug? Go ahead. You want to use it for your mortgage? Go ahead. So it's meant to fill in those gaps.
You deal with a lot of
I do.
that veterans often have like this smorgasbord of benefits. They have the VA, maybe they have TRICARE for life.
Mhm.
Um, so how do you work with all of that in coming up with a comprehensive plan?
Right. So same thing, I do a needs analysis, but for the most part, if someone has a TRICARE for life and they're on Medicare, because TRICARE for life is great. Oh my goodness. I love the benefits what they can offer. Even my mother-in-law, she has TRICARE for life. So I let her be. I go, Mom, what you have is great. We're not gonna touch it. However, if there are any other gaps that you think that we need to fill out, then they are available. Okay. So I still show my clients the gaps, but for the most part, I tell them if if what they have is good to go, then I'm not going to touch it, right? Because I also would have to evaluate their financial status. Are they able to pay
Mm.
extra money for these other policies? Does it make sense for them? So if it doesn't, then no, but at least I have shared that information, because sometimes my clients, they're gonna say no right now, but it's gonna be in the back of their head. So they would come back to me and be like, "Hey, Krista, I remember you talked about this one. So can we discuss this again?" And so we would just have to revisit it, right? And then explain to them how it supplements what their current coverage is, so TRICARE for life. But for people with VA is a healthcare system. It's not a health insurance, right? And for example, if you live in a remote area in the United States, do you think there's going to be the VA facility? The answer may be no. You probably would have to drive hours upon hours, right? But there's like a mom and pop, primary care clinic. And so it's nice to have a supplement, like a supplemental plan that is accepted by them, just so you can still go to them for just in case, right? And you keep that VA healthcare benefit. So
Every day, I think we all hear about new trends in AI, new trends in computing, new trends. Are there new trends in insurance that are kind of
so
sneaking up on us that we don't know about?
Trends in insurance. Okay, so if you go on cms.gov, there's always going to be something new, right? And so the latest one would be the GLP ones that are going to be approved by CMS. So that is still something that us brokers are still waiting for the final determination. So just so you know that these GLP ones, these are the ones that are meant to aid in chronic condition patients, for example, diabetes, right? So they have all these injectables and all these medications that help with those chronic conditions, right? They tend to be expensive, right? They tend to be expensive, but the government, they're finding ways to help keep lower that cost. And so to identify which medications there are, then that is something that we're still awaiting on for the list. But there's always something new, and then with the Medicare Part D, we don't know what the cap will be for next year, right? What's going to be the catastrophic cap? Or with Medicare Part B, which is your medical insurance, we don't know what the standard Medicare Part B premium would be for next year. But for this year, it's $202.90. And historically, it's just been trending upward. So we'll see how that goes.
And just for clarification, GLP-1 drugs, just in case someone doesn't have a TV and never heard an ad, uh, they do what?
Let's see. So I'm not a pharmacist.
Fair enough. Just in general, or I will, often used with weight loss, and you can see where that would tie in with diabetes. And there's some side benefits potentially with GLP-1 drugs also, or some.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, gosh, I wouldn't even know the names of these drugs until I see what my clients' prescription drugs are. But you see a recurring theme, you see a recurring theme. It's kind of like when I see this certain drug, it kind of tells me that it's for this certain chronic condition. And so, I still confirm that with my client. Have you been diagnosed with, type 2 diabetes, or let's say with chronic heart failure, things like that.
Cer-
So,
Certainly. And if you watch TV tonight, you will hear many commercials for these drugs. So very typical. They're all over, and for good reason. Obviously, it's made a big change in people's lives.
mhm.
Very good. Anything else you could think of to help a person kind of get their footing?
Okay. So, gosh, I would say if there's any seminar in your area, somebody that conducts Medicare 101s, I would say please go, so it will open your eyes as to um, what the new trends are, any current regulations, things like that. Connect with your local broker if you have any questions, because there's always something new, right? But like what I mentioned earlier, not all brokers are the same. So just have that, what's the word? Have that, not intuition, but you will know if that broker is a right fit for you, right? So I hope you find someone that you resonate with, and don't hesitate to ask questions, so there's no right or wrong question, so I always like it when my clients engage me, so because it tells me that number one, they trust me, and then number two, that they are curious, so I want someone that that asks questions. So it makes me happy. I just feel like, oh, they care about this topic. This is something that that's very important to them. And sometimes those questions that my clients ask, I come up with a Facebook post about it. So if I think that other people are thinking about it, I might as well say something about it and then do a video and post it on my social media, right? Because I'm pretty sure other people are thinking about it as well. So
Good advice, especially
yeah,
the asking questions. Okay, I got a
yeah.
final question for you. At the end of a long week, you sit back and reflect and catch your breath from everything that happens. What gives you a sense of satisfaction in what you do?
Right. You know what, Bob? I see this as my ministry, so it's how what they say that because so back in the day when I was still in the Philippines, I went to a Jesuit school. It's they have the term AMDG, so ad maiorem Dei gloriam, so it's for the greater glory of God. So basically, what I do is it's as if it's my service to him, so he gave me this platform. So to me, my job is to through serve him through other people, basically, so he, like for this one, so you have this platform. I would like to inform people what I do and what I'm capable of doing to help them out. So I want to present myself as worthy of service, because in translation, I'm serving the Lord. So I'm not sure if I'm able to talk about these things, but oh well. I'm
It's good
just
to have
proud of,
it's
you know
good to have a passion for what you're doing.
you're
There's
right,
nothing
right,
wrong
right,
with that.
right. So I see it as a ministry, Bob,
Okay.
and I'm grateful. So
Well, thank you so much for all the information.
thank you
It's
so much for allowing me to do this with you. You're amazing. Thank you so much.
appreciate.